let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, do you remember the Super Bowl? They got their butts kicked. Well, Rashee Rice, who missed the Super Bowl, he had this season-ending knee injury in Week 4. He is healthy and back in action and says not only will the offense be explosive this year, but it's going to be a quote-unquote show. You see Rashee Rice here doing some ladder work. Looks like you working out at the gym. I don't know that I buy this offense totally bouncing back just because Rashee Rice is there. I mean, Travis Kelce's old. Isaiah Pacheco, not what he was a couple years ago.
It's not that I'm anti-Chiefs, but I think the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chargers will all be significantly better. Jim Harbaugh, year 2, everywhere he's gone in his career, year 2 feels like, oh, that's a Harbaugh team. Year 1 is build a culture. By year 2, the roster, the 2 running backs, Joe Alt now in year 2, it's like, oh, that's a Harbaugh team. If you showed me the draft the last 2 years, it's never been receiver built. It's tackles, it's pass rush, it's run game. So I just think the division is much better.
Undeniable. I will add for the Chiefs fans who are upset that we keep calling for their demise, let's just remind people, Tom Brady won a decade between Super Bowl wins, okay? There's no guarantees just because you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And you look at the schedule, we've talked about it ad nauseum. It is not easy with the travel, opening the season outside of this continent, a lot of primetime games. Colin, they got to go to Buffalo again. I said miss the playoffs. I'm sticking by it. I know it's June. You think that's hot take happy hour, but you look at that left tackle situation. I don't think it's improved getting a backup from San Francisco to protect Patrick Mahomes. I just don't.
Listen, there's always one team in the league that surprises us. So we know so look at their schedule again. So we know the Chargers will be good in the first. We know the Eagles will be good, and then they play the Ravens and the Lions and Washington and Buffalo and Denver. So there's a lot of tough games. If let's just say the surprise team in the league, and I mean you look at the second half, they're facing Houston. They're facing Denver. Let's just say the surprise team in the league is Tennessee. And I think just look at their schedule. Look at how that schedule ends. You think the beginning of it is tough with the Lions and the Eagles and the Ravens and the Chargers and the Bills and Washington. I would argue the beginning's tough, the middle is tough. And if Tennessee, and I think both you and I think that'll be the most improved team in the league, they will end the season with Houston, Chargers, Tennessee, and Denver. That schedule has no break. The beginning, middle, and end has landmines everywhere with that Kansas City schedule.
And would they go 11-0 in one-score games last year? It might have been 12.
That's not happening.
Bottom line, even if you regress to 6-5, which is still winning, and again, 6-5 is good in one-score games, you're now looking at like a 8 or 9 win team.
Yeah, I know you and I agree on this, is that is a sneaky tough schedule. If just Tennessee is, and we've done a pretty good job on the show predicting what's the team that's going to be much better than next year. I think it's Tennessee. I think we both agree. Yeah. If they're good, tell me the break in this schedule.
Well,
yeah,
New York Giants.
That's it. That is it. And maybe Dallas at home. And no other breaks on that schedule. Because the Raider games will be competitive because they're rivalry games. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith. Those games will be competitive games.
I'm just going to put this out there. That Jacksonville offense, I've been doing some off-season homework. The Jacksonville offense, just look out. They got 2 really good receivers, healthy Trevor Lawrence, and a sharp offensive coach. Just file it away, folks. The Jacksonville offense is going to be top 5 in the league this year.
Top 5, that's a bold statement. Okay. I'm excited to have this conversation here because first things first, tried to have this conversation, but it got derailed by Nick talking about Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, and that's just what that conversation video turned into. So I'm excited to talk about this in a more targeted way, specifically about the Kansas City Chiefs. I roll my eyes of bringing up like, oh, remember Tom Brady didn't do this in 10 years, and I'm just like, it's information, but it's not a predictor of anything. Like, yeah, it's a reminder of how hard it is to win, and I get that, but like that's not like an argument. right? Like that is a conversation that you can bring up in a discussion. But when you're trying to craft an argument as to why you think something will be, bringing up Tom Brady in that example it just wouldn't make sense. If you were like in the court of law and you were trying to prove your point, bringing up Tom Brady, like, the court would be like, this has nothing to do with anything. Yes, this is what happened in the past, but like, how does that inform your view as to how good or not good the Kansas City Chiefs will be? Like, it's not actually a sound argument. Like I said, it's so interesting to discuss and bring up, but like when you're trying to make an actual argument, it's just not, quite frankly. Especially if you're going to have a limited time to discuss something in a narrow window. If you're like me and you make like a 30-45 minute video or something, then sure, you can bring it up in as a discussion and when you're trying to make like a clear point. But other than that, it's just like if you're only going to bring up like 3 bullet points, that should not be one of them. Is probably really ultimately what I'm trying to emphasize. But even if you say, oh, Pacheco's not the same or whatever, and like, whatnot, and Rashee Rice coming back from an injury, like, again, even with bad players or average players or just good players, like, Andy Reid is so gifted at putting players in positions to succeed. Again and again and again, over multiple rosters, multiple franchises, multiple decades, multiple quarterbacks, he's proven to be able to do that. And then when you have a quarterback as gifted as Patrick Mahomes, who more often than not is not going to hurt his team. Like, yeah, he obviously did not have a great start to the season last year. And it was just turnover after turnover after turnover. I'm not necessarily anticipating Patrick Mahomes continuing that trajectory. And, the fact that you're going to, lose a bunch of weapons offensively and not think that you're going to have a bounce back or an improvement, I struggle to see how that could be possible. I don't understand. Are you going to say that, hey, this team is going to look like, what it did in years past where they were able to put up like 5,000 yards? Like, probably not. I mean, again, I don't know, but probably not. And to think that there's also not other players on there that will be able to make an impact. Like, I reject that notion first and foremost because of who I believe Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are. There's obviously going to be a bounce back. What I take issue with is the whole we're going to put on a show this season, because I was able to say this in my First Things First video, is that's not what it's about. We're going to put on a show. It's like, well, it's not about that. It's about winning, and it's about collecting rings. When Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback and Andy Reid is your head coach, it's about building a GOAT resume. It is just ring, ring, ring. Andy Reid is trying to get more rings than Bill Belichick, and Patrick Mahomes is trying to get more rings than Tom Brady. More Patrick Mahomes than Tom Brady, because I'm pretty sure Andy Reid does not care. I mean, I do believe that Andy Reid's like, I am who I am. Plus, he's getting old. He wasn't fortunate enough to get a team like this and a quarterback like this early enough in his career. But, yeah, I mean, 8 or 9 wins. And again, both things can be true. That you could say the Raiders are going to be better because they should be. The Chargers are going to be better because they should be. The Broncos are going to be better because they should be. And when I say better, I just mean better relative to who they are, not better than the Kansas City Chiefs. That can all be true. And so will that now add more hard games? Because this should, in theory, be the first time in Mahomes' career that the division is actually like legitimately tough. I mean, they've been able to feast in this division season after season after season after season. And that's been a massive present to the Chiefs, without a shadow of a doubt. It feels like that time has passed, that it's over now, but to what degree? I don't know. I really don't. The Packers have gotten better, and the Vikings have gotten better, and technically the Bears gotten better, but the Lions still won the division. Didn't matter. So, and this will be a tough schedule. Chargers, Eagles, Ravens, the first 3 games should be tough. The Lions should be tough. I do believe, I mean, like, think about it. Even when the Raiders were not good, no coach, no quarterback, still played them tough. You have to imagine at least one of those games is going to be tough. I believe the Commanders will be a great team. That's going to be tough. The Bills, that will be tough. The Broncos, that will be tough. The Colts, I mean, again, I'm optimistic that Daniel Jones can get some momentum, but like, if Daniel Jones, let's say Daniel Jones is having a Sam Darnold-esque season where he completely turns around, will that game be tougher? For sure. Am I going to bet that Daniel Jones is and the Colts will be better than Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? No. Dak Prescott, he's coming back. This team should be healthy. I don't have high hopes for the Cowboys. It's like, I don't know. And then again, and then it's back to the usual suspects: the Texans, the Chargers, minus the Titans, Broncos, Raiders. So, yeah, listen, I mean, I don't think they're going to win 16 games. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go 10-0, 9-0, whatever it ended up being. But they don't have to. Like, that's the thing. They don't have to. And yeah, I don't know. It's 8 or 9 wins. Trying to get to 8 or 9 wins, like, if I just gave them, I guess the way how you get to 8 or 9 wins is like if you just give away all of the hard losses and the easy wins. You would say the Giants, you would say the Colts, the Cowboys, the Titans, and we'll say the Raiders twice, which would be 6. Maybe the Jags as well, 7. If you're trying to give, like, technically the easiest wins and just giving away the hardest losses. Again, not predictions. Can't emphasize that enough. Not predictions. It's like, okay, you're kind of within striking distance of that. But I think this defense is still going to be great. And the whole reality is like you're talking about all these one-score games where they went whatever it was, 10-0, 10-1, whatever the final number ended up being. You're not going to be anticipating being in as many close games because your defense should still be great, should still be a top defense in the NFL, and your offense should be better. So some of those one-score games should not really theoretically be one-score games, or if they are, it'll be slightly different where it's like, well, now you're up 8, or now you're up 7 or whatever, and you have the ball, or you're up 3 and you have the ball, and you're not giving the ball back and giving the other team a chance to win the game, and you're relying on a blocked field goal, whatever it is, like you're able to convert that first down more regularly and whatnot. So yeah, I really think at the end of the day, the Kansas City Chiefs will probably find themselves very much in the same place, in the same pool that they've been with all the other teams, with the Bills, with the Ravens. Like it's just the same. It's just the same usual suspects. To me, that's really what it gets boiled down to. And I mean, think about it. Even when these teams aren't even great, they still find ways to beat. Like the Bengals were clearly not a great team, and yet the Bengals clearly could have beaten the Chiefs. Like no matter what, even with that awful defense and whatnot, it's like they still had a chance to make that game competitively. The Ravens got off to a really bizarre start to their season. They lost, losing to the Raiders and losing to the Browns and whatnot, just like having weird games. And yet that game, week 1, came down to the wire. The Bills versus the Chiefs. Bills were, they had mega highs. They also had mega lows. Like they also had their share of inconsistencies. Didn't matter. When it was time for the Bills and the Chiefs to play each other, boom, box office, let's go. So it's like those teams still always find ways, at the very least, when they're playing each other, to make it just be like, whoa, we got ourselves a game. So I'm not anticipating that the Chiefs now are suddenly going to lose that ability. It just fundamentally does not make sense to me. And I can guarantee you that there's players on the Chiefs right now who are, who don't even have as big of a name of a Rashee Rice or a Pacheco or, whatever it may be, but will fulfill that role one day. That they'll be that person where they're like, oh man, yeah, the Chiefs drafted him in the 3rd round, or they got him in free agency, or whatever it may be. Any of those random names that you're just like not hyper aware of just yet, I can guarantee you that they have at least one of those players where like, man, where did the Chiefs get this guy? Because that's what they always do. So that's pretty much what always happens year after year. It's always kind of like some random guy or two where you're like, whoa, where did that dude come from? So I just can't imagine that they just magically lost that ability. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and this offense not being able to bounce back and struggling? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.